She was just another mechanic, quiet, unnoticed, forgotten. But when a powerful general stopped, stared at her wrist, and saluted, everything changed. What was hidden beneath her sleeve shook the entire base. This isn't just a story about a tattoo. It's about honor, sacrifice, and a silent hero the world almost forgot. Watch till the end, because some legacies refuse to stay buried. In a quiet corner of a military base garage, Hannah tightened a bolt beneath an old van. Grease streaked her forehead, and her jumpsuit hung loosely on her lean frame. Most people walked past her without a glance, thinking she was just another mechanic. She liked it that way. Low attention, no questions, just engines and silence. But Hannah wasn't just any mechanic. She had a past buried deep in shadows. Decades ago, she served in a covert unit, one even some generals hadn't heard of. She never spoke of it, never showed off, and never acted like a hero. All that remained from that chapter of her life was a faded tattoo on her wrist. It was almost always covered by her sleeve. Almost. Today, the sleeve had slipped just enough to reveal what lay beneath the tattoo was simple but powerful. A black falcon with a lightning bolt through it. Those who knew, really knew what it meant, rare and respected. Only the elite of a now disbanded squad carried that mark on their skin. It stood for operations classified beyond clearance, bravery without medals. As Hannah wiped her hands, the tattoo peeked out for a second too long. At that very moment, a convoy of black SUVs rolled into the lot. Out stepped General Marcus Callahan, a decorated four-star commander. He wasn't supposed to stop, but something caught his eye. His eyes locked on Hannah's wrist, then widened with disbelief. He stood frozen, recognizing a symbol most had forgotten. He walked slowly toward her, his boots echoing across the concrete floor. Mechanics glanced around, wondering why a general was approaching her. Hannah noticed the silence before she saw the man himself. She stood, confused, wiping her hands nervously on a rag. Callahan stopped in front of her, eyes fixed on the tattoo. He slowly raised his hand, not in greeting, but in a crisp military salute. Gasps echoed from nearby staff. Silence fell like a weighted blanket. Hannah's eyes widened, and her breath caught in her throat. It had been years since anyone acknowledged who she truly was. Now, standing before a general, it all came rushing back. "Ma'am," he said respectfully, "it's an honor to meet a Falcon operative." The title alone stunned the young recruits in the garage. They looked between Hannah and the general, confused and awed. Falcon operatives were myths, ghost soldiers from the past. Rumors told of their missions in war zones where diplomacy had failed. Hannah had been one of them, long before these recruits were born, but she never expected to be remembered, let alone saluted. Her hands trembled, caught between humility and memory. The tattoo had always been a burden she bore in silence. But today, it was a badge of honor finally seen. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" Hannah asked, clearing her throat. Callahan nodded. "Always. I thought no one remembered us anymore. We were erased." "Not erased," he replied gently. "You were protected and honored in silence." Mechanics had stopped working. Even engines stopped humming. All eyes were on Hannah, once invisible, now revered. "Your missions saved lives, turned wars, even when no one knew," he added. Her lips quivered as emotion built in her chest. She'd buried those memories deep, to move on. But the respect in his eyes brought them all back. Callahan motioned for his aide, who quickly stepped forward. "Get her file reactivated. She deserves access and recognition," he ordered. The aide nodded and left without a word. Hannah shook her head, still overwhelmed. "I'm just a mechanic now," she whispered. "Maybe so," Callahan said, "but legends don't stay buried forever." He placed a hand on her shoulder, firm, respectful. "You earned more than a quiet garage, Hannah." With that, he saluted once more, before turning to leave. But the story was far from over. Word spread across the base like wildfire. The woman in the garage was a Falcon. Soldiers who once ignored her now stood straighter in her presence. Officers made excuses to pass by the auto shop. Young recruits whispered her name like she was a ghost turned real. She never asked for attention, yet now it followed her. Her skills with machines were no longer the only thing people admired. Hannah didn't change how she worked, she just held her head higher. She still got grease on her hands and oil in her hair, but now she felt seen for everything she'd done, and it felt like closure she never thought she'd have. One morning, she found a small box on her workbench. Inside was a medal, black steel engraved with the Falcon insignia. No note, no name, just long overdue recognition. Tears filled her eyes. She had never accepted medals before. Policy. But this one felt different. Earned, respected, finally given. She wore it once, pinned under her name tag. That day, officers lined up just to shake her hand. Each said the same words. "Thank you for your service." She had no words, just a quiet, grateful nod. Soon, higher-ups asked for her insight on classified vehicles. She became a silent advisor. Her wisdom guided them. The military offered a promotion and a ceremony. She declined. Peace meant more than praise. But they honored her anyway, on her terms. A falcon emblem was painted on a hangar wall. Next to it, a plaque. For Hannah and the silent warriors. It became a quiet place of reflection for soldiers. Recruits came often, asking her stories. She never shared the full truth, only what they needed. Stay sharp, stay humble. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Some saw the tattoo. Others just respected her. She still fixed engines, but now she also mended hearts. Unseen, unpraised, unforgettable. Years later, a cadet asked why she stayed a mechanic. "Because this is honest work," she smiled. "You could be an officer," he said. "Maybe, but being seen isn't always the goal." Her story wasn't about rising up, but staying grounded. When she retired, the entire base came. They unveiled a statue, a falcon on a wrench. Beneath it, she fixed more than engines. She rebuilt respect. She cried because the silence had finally spoken. Long after she was gone, her story lived on. The garage became sacred, her bench untouched. A quote on the wall, "Never crave attention, crave purpose." Her legacy wasn't medals, but meaning. Hannah's story ended with oil-stained gloves and a quiet smile, with a salute from a general and from history. Because someone finally looked beyond the grease and never overlooked her again.